Hey, have you guys ever thought about retiring early?
Yeah, to
Like where?
tropical paradise.
Like on a beach or something?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Like like before you're 100 years old, just kind of going somewhere and retiring, like selling all your stuff, getting rid of everything.
Yeah, sure.
Sounds like
I mean, I haven't jumped or anything, but
sounds like it'd be
paradise to me.
sounds like it'd be kind of crazy, right?
yeah.
All right. Well, luckily for us, we have some episodes for you.
We got 2 people. Both moved to Costa Rica. One of them still there. One of them back in the States. We're going to start with
Tiffany.
Tiffany, who's back in the States, and then we'll follow up with
Nikki,
Nikki, who
who
is
is
still living in
still-
Costa Rica.
Yeah.
And living La Pura Vida.
And not by herself. She has family and stuff, right? So
Yeah.
Oh,
So stay tuned, listen in.
Yeah.
Cool.
2 episodes.
Thanks, guys.
Have fun.
not quite 1/4, and never just half, but the entirety of one primate, whole. It is the part of a story, an idea that means more to you than me. Hello and welcome to Full Gorilla Life. We are Jeremy Keene.
Larry Medina.
And Corey Hewlings.
Each week, we will break down an important life concept or talk with an inspiring person so that you can live your full gorilla life.
All right, welcome back to the podcast, everybody. And today we'd like to welcome a very special guest in Tiffany Redman. And Tiffany has a very unique story in the sense that she just kind of one day I was like, "Where's Tiffany?" And everybody's like, "Tiffany's in Costa." I was like, "What does that mean?" She's in Costa. She's in Costa vacationing. She's visiting somebody. What's going on? They're like, "No, she just moved." And I said, I got to find out more. So I invited her onto the podcast. But before we get into that story, let's get to know
Yes.
Tiffany a little bit with a quick.
So we have our new Gorilla Gauntlet. I think it's maybe the 3rd or 4th time we've done it. 10 rapid fire questions just to get to know you at a very superficial level, but enough to kind of know. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
All right, so welcome. First one, married or single?
Single.
Any children?
2
How many?
daughters. 2 daughters.
2 daughters.
Good job.
iPhone or Android?
iPhone.
He needs positive
Favorite
reinforcement.
movie or book?
My favorite book is The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle.
Nice. Beer, whiskey, or wine?
Depends on the day, honestly. Do I have to
Okay.
just pick one?
No, I guess
I
you
like
can have
all
all
three.
of them. Okay.
Well, actually, let's delve a little bit. Can you say like the occasion?
All
for
right,
each?
ready? I'm going to give you one and you give me what? Beer. What would you want?
If I'm on the beach at sunset, it's a beer.
Whiskey
Getting rowdy.
and wine.
Romancing myself.
Okay. All right, we're going to move on.
I'm single, so I have to romance
that works.
myself.
That works. Favorite genre of music?
I love 90s alternative music.
Nice.
Yes,
That's
I
right
find-
up my
I
alley.
find myself. Yeah,
That's right
Yeah,
up my
nothing beats it.
nothing. I'm with you. The buzz. I wish it was back.
Real musicians playing like music.
Favorite type of food?
Mexican.
I was going
Res-
to call you out on that because I read your.
Reservations or just walk in?
Just walk in.
All
That's
right.
right. That's Team
What
Larry.
do you drive?
I drive a Ford Edge.
City you wished you lived in?
Playa Viana, Costa Rica.
Okay.
So is that where you were living?
That's where I was.
Okay.
yeah.
By the way, Jeremy skipped right through it. He went really fast when
Yeah,
it was
there was a reason for
reservations or
Dipshit.
walk in. Jeremy's team walk in. So.
No, I'm not. I'm
He's
team
reservation.
reservation.
Oh, that's right.
But now listen, and I have to explain this every frickin' podcast now.
Huh.
This is getting old. I'm going to take that one off. It's like 3-4 of us.
I'll ask
we
it
have
later.
families. There's like 10, 15 of us. That's
need
when
a
that's when I make a
reservation. I
reservation.
agree.
No, we
So
don't.
every time I clarify,
We've done it without.
everybody agrees with me. I'm not saying we go to Chick-fil-A and say, "Hey, I need call ahead."
He does.
The restaurant owner said it's okay. She'll
That
still
is-
take us.
She would still take you, but she preferred.
All right. Yeah,
I mean, we're going to start editing this shit out because this is like repetitive now. Anyway,
that's fine.
take over, Larry.
Okay. Yeah. So let's
We don't
get
have
into.
to edit this out.
No, we don't. So I'm the one that's going to edit this, so it's fine. And this is Larry for the people that don't know my voice yet. So if we go back into
Last question.
we all
Whose
graduated.
voice sounds better on this podcast? Go ahead, Tiffany.
She said that we all sound the same.
Yeah,
So she's talking to you too.
I did say that.
Just
You guys
kidding.
also-
Just go already.
All right, so so that's why I said Larry. All right, now we graduated high school together, right? Went to high school.
did.
And can you give us a little bit of background about yourself in regards to you graduated high school? What did you do immediately after high school?
I started, I got a full-time job, and then I quit that full-time job to go back to college, and I thought I was going to be an interior designer. I wanted to move to Chicago and live in the city. That was kind of my thing.
Have you been
Interesting.
to Chicago or lived there before?
I went to Chicago, and I fell in love with it. And I was in a serious relationship at the time. I was engaged, and I came back from the trip, and I was like, I want to move to Chicago. It's amazing. And he was like, I'm going to live in Vero my whole life. I'm never leaving this town. And I was like, ugh. So I broke up with him the next day.
Okay.
You're like,
I was like, that's not-
reservations?
Yeah.
So, question. You don't say names. Is he still here? Do you know if he's still
still
actually
here.
here in Vero?
Yeah,
So he's
he
living
is.
it up. Okay.
Hey, he's living
Yeah.
his dream.
Hey,
Yeah.
yes,
And
fair.
it's fine. Like
Yeah,
for
no,
some
agreed.
people, it's great. But,
But it's good
just
to
Hey,
figure
I'll
that
be
out
honest.
early.
This is my paradise. This is
and
my
it is
absolute
for
paradise.
most people. And it's a beautiful place. It's
Yeah.
just not for me.
Mhm.
I have traveled semi-extensively, and this is definitely my paradise.
And I'm envious of people that can be content
yeah.
where they are. I think that's great. I think it's wonderful. But Costa Rica was the only place that I found that
Well,
Yeah,
that's
you
your
felt
gave
paradise.
me that
Yeah.
feeling.
That's your
I can
paradise.
see that.
Yeah.
So, all right, so you went ahead. You're like, all right, this is not for me.
Hold on one second. Wait. You graduated with Larry.
Yes, and Jeremy.
Did you know him
I
during
graduated too.
Yeah. Did you know Larry during his illustrious rap career?
I did not.
Did you
Yeah.
know that he's recorded rap?
I'm just
Yeah.
hearing
Songs.
about this.
I'm everywhere.
for the
Okay.
first
I'm
time.
just very interested to know because I didn't know Larry back then. So I'm just very.
Listen,
I really want to meet somebody that has actually seen him.
No.
Down
maybe you'll
some
find him
lyrics.
through the podcast.
That's
But-
what I'm hoping. That's why I'm asking her. Okay, go ahead.
Let's get back to
Yeah.
our people.
So we went ahead and we graduated through high school. You were engaged,
I was
and you're like,
engaged.
all right, this isn't for me because I got to go to Chicago.
That
what
was
hap-
my goal. And then I started waitressing because I was going to school during the day, waitressing at night
As an interior for interior
for
design.
interior
Okay.
design. I started working for an interior designer and quickly realized that I didn't want to be an interior designer. So I was like, okay, this isn't going to work. And then a friend of mine, she was older. I was like 20, 21. She was 27. And we would go out after work every night at the bar and talk about moving away. So one day we decided we were going to go to Colorado. So we packed everything up and we moved to Colorado,
Where at?
Denver, the Denver area. But it lasted 6 weeks total because we
Okay.
got homesick.
Oh,
Okay.
So we ended up having a lot of fun and doing cross-country trip, and it was fun, but it wasn't a move. We weren't ready. So I came back, and then almost immediately I was like, I'm back here where I don't want to be. So I moved to Orlando, and I started working as a travel agent in Orlando and had got pregnant with my first daughter in Orlando. And after she was born, I came back here to be close to my family.
Okay. All right. So now you're in Vero.
I'm back in Vero. Babies, kids, single mom. Shortly into that, my youngest daughter was 2 when I became a single mom. So I was, tired and struggling and
yeah.
doing it
Wow.
all alone, and it was a lot and exhausting. And that's kind of around the time when the Costa Rica thing started to.
So how does that come about? Like, are you just like, you've been a travel agent already,
Yes,
so
yes.
you know about travel. Have you traveled much to that point outside of the country?
Not really. I'd been to Mexico. That was it. Well, I'd been on cruises.
Like
I don't
tourist-
particularly
Cancun?
count cruises. When we went for our senior trip, I have a picture to show you guys of us
Oh, nice.
on our senior trip.
Okay.
I found it the other
Cancun.
day.
Jeremy wasn't going to drink during that trip. That's
That
all I
was
know.
I
it.
wasn't. Do you remember? All I was bring back real quick. You remember Chip Humphrey? Yeah. Shout out to Chip,
You should get him
our
on.
He's
chaperone.
We should. We absolutely should.
We would bring that
Totally
conversation
should.
back up. I remember him and his hot Coronas.
He was a lot of fun on that trip.
Okay, we're not
Yeah.
throwing anybody under the bus here.
No. Is he retired?
Yeah, he's retired.
Okay. Yeah,
All right.
Coronas.
That's why I was getting a look. He's like, "What are you doing?" I was like, "He's retired." He's
Yeah.
like,
All right, then I'm good.
Anyway, let's go back. All right.
So the way that it all happened is my brother he was here too. He had just recently gotten married. His wife was 19 and they had 2 babies back to back, like 10 months apart.
Oh, wow.
How old was your brother?
He's 2 years younger than me. So he was 27 probably at the time.
Still young for two babies.
Young, yeah.
Yeah.
And he was working as a UPS driver. So he was working all the time. And his wife would call me every day, I'm divorcing your brother. Because she was just fed up because she was home alone with the kids all the time. He was worn out because he was working his butt off. And my dad had always had a retire in Costa Rica book on his coffee table, like for years and years and years. So my dad and my brother were drinking beer and decided that they were going to come up with this idea to move to Costa Rica. And when they called me and said, do you want to go? I was like, yes, absolutely. So they all went 3 months before I did.
So the whole family went?
The whole family went.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
I gave notice to my job. I thought that I would be able to work from Costa Rica at first because I worked remotely from my house, but they were like, no, we can't do that out of the country. So I was like, okay, well, I'm quitting then. I'm doing this, you know?
Yeah.
And so I sold everything. My girls and I, we had 3 suitcases, our entire life in 3 suitcases. And we got on a plane with a one-way ticket to a country we'd never been to.
Did you say how old you were at the time?
I was 31.
And your kids were
and
how old?
my daughters were 6 and 8.
Wow.
What was the hardest thing that you had to let go of?
The real personal stuff, like photos.
What'd you do with it?
Some of them I took pictures of and sent them to my email. I gave a box to Danielle, my friend Danielle. I gave a box to my mom. And then there were a lot that, like all the old high school pictures and stuff. I was like, yearbooks.
Cancun pictures.
I have
that kind of stuff.
I have
That
like
was
a
tough.
whole thing of yearbooks in my closet I never look at.
No,
Kind
but
of pointless. I mean, I don't know.
No,
yeah, I
it's
get what
not
you're saying.
pointless.
It's not pointless, but I see where you come from. But at the same
Pull
time,
them
it's
out,
kind of
but
like,
you don't really use them very often.
yeah.
no,
Interesting.
no. It
I
could
don't
be
mean
an
pointless.
afterthought for
Pointless
sure.
is the wrong word. I apologize.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Yeah, but it's for your daughters to look at, not for you to look
they're
at.
just going to make fun of me like you guys do.
Yeah,
so.
that's
Yeah, they're gonna be like, "Dude, you had a mustache."
actually, yeah.
Not in high school, no.
Bring them into this. Bring them into the studio. We'll make use of them.
That's fair. That's fair. Anyway,
Yeah. All right. So you hung out here for 3 months. Your dad's already gone. Your brother's already gone. What are you doing those 3 months? Are you just kind of like counting down? Are you
the longest 3 months of your life?
Yeah. What does that feel like for you?
It was amazing. I was so excited. I was just dying to go, basically.
Did you feel anxious?
I wasn't scared or nervous at all.
And you hadn't been to Costa Rica before
No.
this.
Never.
Does anybody in your family speak Spanish,
No.
or everybody's?
What about
green
now?
My daughters are both fluent. I'm still trying.
That's awesome.
I know. I'm
Which is
so
funny
happy.
because that's what Nikki said. She said her daughter is fluent, but she's like, I can't speak it.
I know. I'm trying so hard, but it still hasn't clicked fully. So I'm
That's-
going to get there, though. I'm determined.
Yeah. All right. So now 3 months have passed. Where do you fly into?
San Jose, which is the capital.
One-way ticket?
One-way ticket. Yep.
Okay.
And this was
That's got to feel good getting off the plane.
Right, because
It's
it's a one-way ticket. Now it's
doing
like,
this.
we're doing this.
no turning back.
No turning
really.
back.
That's how my family moved to Florida. I mean, obviously not as drastic as moving to another country, but
Still a big deal.
I had 5 brothers and sisters and my mom and dad, and we sold everything we owned. We each got 1 suitcase, got on a train. First time we'd been out.
From where?
We didn't have a car. We were in Pennsylvania. So I never drove in a car, let alone we got on a train and came to Florida, and we each had 1 suitcase. So it was definitely, and I was probably around your daughter's age. I was 9. I turned 10 when we moved to Florida. So I was 9 years old. I remember it was very exciting to me. I thought it was awesome. Like we were going to live where Disney World was. I didn't understand.
That's what you were thinking of as like, because
Disney
I'm
World
curious
didn't
of like at that age,
exist everywhere, but
my daughters are 10 and 7. Like if I were to say pack up and leave, I'm
they'd be
curious of what
stoked.
you think at that age. They're just like, let's
Oh,
just do
yeah.
it.
Mason
Wait,
would not.
You don't think so?
Mason would no.
Not to try to change the subject.
He
Didn't mean to
loves
get off
this.
topic,
He
but I
loves
was
this area.
curious about
He
that.
calls this little town. He's like, I just want to be in little town. Always.
So it's his
That's what he
paradise
says.
too. It's like you.
This is his paradise.
Cute.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey.
Yeah. So that's what he always
I'm
says.
gonna have to ask my
He's like,
kids
I
and
want
see
to
what
be
they
in
think.
little town because we've gone. We traveled to like Washington, New York, a few big cities together, Key West, and every time he's like, I just want to go back home. Like he just
Interesting.
loves this area for
Which
whatever
is funny
reason.
because you say your girls probably now that's their home.
It is. They grew up there.
But is it
Yeah.
a little town where you lived?
It
there
was
too?
very tiny. Yes.
In
Very
Costa Rica?
remote, backwoods,
How far?
roads.
How far were you from the airport?
Oh, far. 6 hours.
Oh,
Oh,
wow.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I lived on the North Pacific coast of Costa Rica, and San Jose is in the center of the country.
Now,
Is that like
6
capital?
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
the capital.
6 hours, is that because it's kind of remote and the roads aren't that great, or is it like
It's just distance.
That route is actually pretty legit.
okay?
Yeah,
so
it's a solid
a lot of driving.
Yeah, and my family ended up living in the mountains. They stayed closer to that region. They were about 4 hours away from me, and
Okay. So were they close to the coast too?
no, they lived in the mountains.
I feel like if I live in Costa Rica, I got to be on the beach.
yeah. Well, I was
Like,
in the mountains for a month, and I was like, I need
No.
the ocean. This
You're
is
like,
not.
no.
especially growing up here. Like, I mean, I don't use the beach enough, but I need to know what's that close.
Exactly.
So when you got
That's
there,
why.
you went. Did you stay? You stay with them first in the mountain area, and then realize that's not where you want to be, and you just decided, I'm going over here. I'll see you
Yes.
later.
Yes.
Wow.
You guys will know this person. Shortly before I left, during that 3 months that I was getting ready to go, I reconnected with Jay Granums.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
And he was going to Baja to camp and do this whole thing with his sister that I guess he did like every year. And he was like, you know what? I'm going to drive down to Costa Rica from Mexico and see you. And I was
awesome.
like, okay.
Okay.
Yeah. So I ended up going to the beach and waiting on Jay to get there. And he had this truck with a camper and a snorkel. He had just the
How
perfect,
romantic.
he had the perfect setup for us to go explore Costa Rica. So we had a dog at this time. We got a dog instantly when we got there because I kept telling my kids, when we get to Costa Rica, we'll get a dog. So we got a little street dog named Poco.
That's awesome. You just found him on the street?
Yeah, he was
That's spectacular.
Yeah.
Poco?
Poco.
Like you just get a street dog, like that's like legit. You're like in the backwoods somewhere. We just picked up a street dog.
That's awesome.
I
Yeah.
assume there's no humane society or anything like
No,
that.
not really. And
You
the
just-
dogs are everywhere.
You just
Yeah.
get your street dog.
It's kind of like Cuba or Jamaica. Or,
Yeah,
Yeah.
the dogs are like people, really. You get to like, I would be walking down the street, hey, and you know all their names, and they're
They
like
hang out in
part
the
of
same
the
hoods. Okay.
yeah, they're part of the crew.
In Cuba, they had like a paper nameplate, like it was almost like laminated paper with their name on it.
The dogs?
Yeah, the dogs. It was weird.
So they could connect them back to their
I have no idea
owner,
why,
or not owner. The
No
person-
idea.
Okay. Interesting.
but they were everywhere. Anyway, sorry.
Larry didn't
I
get
digress.
it.
No,
Yeah. He doesn't,
I
he didn't get
I
him a
did
street
not.
dog.
More of a tourist, not a traveler.
Yes, exactly. That's exactly it.
That's a good way to put it. Anyway.
So, anyways, yeah. So you met up with Jay Granums.
So Jay arrived, and he had his dog Choya with him. So we put the dogs and the kids in the truck, and we took off on a 3-week camping adventure.
So Choya, he brought Choya from
That's
the
his
States.
dog. That's his street dog from Mexico.
Okay.
Hey, you know what? I like it. I like
Yeah,
it. I like
I'm
where it's
liking
going.
it. Yeah,
This sounds like a lot of fun. Just a 3-week camping.
It was
adventure.
Just that
amazing.
alone sounds like a good time.
Yeah.
It was amazing.
All right,
and,
go ahead.
And I'd never been. I mean, I'd been camping at like Disney,
But
which
not
isn't camping.
not knowing where you're
Not
going,
this. We
where
did-
you're
yeah.
gonna see when
That's
you get there.
That's Larry's
a whole
type of camping.
yeah, Disney. Let's
I've
get a
been-
log cabin.
I've been.
You don't even stay in the tent. You do the cabin.
I would.
Yes.
I would.
I
But-
went camping with Larry this summer at Disney World
Yeah, he did.
in a cabin.
Yeah, I was like, I'll pay for
We
this.
had ribeye steaks, ribeye steaks on the grill,
Yeah,
and sweet potatoes cooked in the oven
yeah.
inside the cabin.
That's how you do it, right? Isn't that?
Yeah.
That's
Isn't that
not
camping?
camping.
Upscale.
Go ahead and tell us your definition of a
We had
3-week
AC.
camping trip in Costa.
I'm sorry.
So glamping? No,
Yours sounds much better to me.
I agree.
It was more authentic, maybe,
I agree.
but it was a lot
Sounds
of fun.
better.
We didn't really know where we were. We were just going through river crossings and finding beaches and setting up our tents and hanging out. And then when we ran out of food and water, we would drive until we found a little store and just kind of replenish. And we didn't see any people. It was just us on these beautiful beaches with cows and dogs and horses.
A lot of jungles.
There's not as much jungle on the beach.
Okay.
It's the area Guanacaste where we were is very dry half the year, so the greenery and everything kind of goes away, and
So
then it comes back during rainy season.
What's up with the pigs on the beach?
That's the beach of the town that I live in.
There's just random
Is
pigs.
it? That's the.
That is she's like the mascot.
Oh, it's just one
Her
pig.
name's Lolita. Yes.
Lolita.
Is it like a
Lolito?
domestic pig or a
Lolita?
hog?
It's their pet. It's Yeah, it's a pet
It's a
pig.
domestic pig.
A domestic pig?
Yeah, it looks like it.
The people who own the restaurant right on the beach, it's called Lola's. And
Oh,
Lola was the original pig.
So does Lola, air quotes, get replaced every once in a while?
Yes, Lola was the original, and then Lola got...
Okay.
So
So
what-
do we
I
get
don't
to
know.
eventually
I don't know
Lola
what-
ends up on your plate at
I
the
don't
restaurant.
think that they eat...
Cut
No, they
stop.
don't eat their pigs.
Come on.
They just
Oh.
die of natural causes.
Yeah.
And then
And
they
then
get
they
a
eat
new
them?
one.
It's a pet.
No?
I don't
No.
know.
That's a very
I don't
gringo thing
know.
to think,
Okay.
I think.
All right.
I don't want to
so-
think about that.
All right.
Yeah,
Sounds
for real.
delicious to me. Okay.
All right. So you're out there. You're kind of just traveling everywhere for 3 weeks.
Yes. Camping. And we, at the very end of that 3 weeks, we finally stayed in a hotel. It was the first one. So we took showers and like ate real food, which was amazing. And then we were just going to continue on. The idea was just to try to find a place that we liked, that we wanted to kind of live at and stay at. So the very next beach we went to was, we didn't know at the time, but it was one of the big sea turtle nesting beaches in Costa Rica. So like kind of idiots, we set up our whole campsite.
right
Is that on the
Right.
Pacific side or the?
Yeah, on the Pacific side. It's a little beach called Lagartillo. And we set up our camp and made a dinner and ate and stuff. And then Jay and I were kind of hanging out. The kids had already gone to bed. And all of a sudden we keep seeing these red flashlights. And we're like, what is that? What is going on? And it's this whole like turtle tour coming down the beach.
Right on.
And one of the guys like, this is like a turtle nesting beach. You guys really shouldn't be camping here.
So, all right,
We
we'll
were-
see you.
yeah,
we'll
we
move in the
were like,
morning.
Sorry.
Yeah.
So he actually had cabinas, and he was like, you can come stay at my place. I'm right down the street. He was super cool. And but that night, after the turtle tour left, we got to see 2 turtles come up and lay their nests,
That's
Oh,
pretty
that's
awesome.
That is
which
pretty
was
cool.
awesome.
So in those 3 weeks, did you ever run into any situations that you're like, uh-oh?
Yes.
Let's talk about that.
Oh, let's get one of
One
those.
night.
Yeah.
One night, we saw, like, again, we hadn't seen any people the whole time. So Jay and I, the girls would go to, the sun sets by 6 o'clock every night in Costa Rica. It sets between 5 and 6 all year round because there's no daylight savings time or anything. So it's pitch black at 6 o'clock. So my kids would go to sleep at 6:30 at the latest. They were just dead tired going to bed. So Jay and I would stay up a little later and hang out and talk and stuff. So we're looking at the ocean, and there's this light out way far out in the ocean, but it's coming closer and closer and closer. And I'm like, what is that? And he's like, it's probably just like a fishing boat or something. And I'm like, oh, okay. And so then all of a sudden, from this side of the beach and this side of the beach, we hear these loud motors, like cars coming, and they're loud and they're scary and they're coming from both sides. And I'm like, they're going to do a drug deal. We're going to die. I start freaking out because I'm like, this boat's coming in. They've got the drugs, and these
Okay.
cars are coming down.
I like where our
this
minds
random
go with
beach.
these
This,
situations.
this
It's
would have
amazing.
been my wife 100%.
Some Captain
Yeah.
Would have been
Phillips.
like
She's
a lot of
thinking-
people, though.
All
All dying right now.
It's like Captain
I-
Phillips right now.
I know. I think
Look
I
at
would have
me.
been like,
Look at me. I'm your
be cool.
captain.
it's gonna
I'm
be
your
you
cool.
captain.
can't like freak out, but I think you're definitely a lot of people's minds go to the worst possible scenario. I
mine
mean,
did.
you got to be prepared a little.
Yeah, I was.
All right, so-
really
so what
nervous.
happened?
Anyway, that's
It
yeah.
ended up just being some drunk people that were gonna camp, and they ended up driving by, and they went down the beach. Yeah, they
So
were,
it turned
they were
into a
doing that.
party then.
Yeah, they
Okay.
were hooting and hollering and drove down the beach.
You're like,
and-
my kid's sleeping.
Yeah, shut up, people.
It's 6 o'clock. This is some kind of animals.
And then the only other thing was the tide. There's a 12-foot tide in Costa Rica, which we didn't know because we're not from there.
Sure.
And so we had a camper on top of the truck that we would sleep in, but the girls were in a tent. And there was this one place, and it was like a river that was coming in. But when we set up our tents and stuff, it was low
Yeah.
tide and looked completely safe. And late
about
as the
12
night,
hours.
as the night started going on, the water started rising. And so Jay ended up staying up like all night just to make sure that the kids didn't get washed out.
So you were in the right spot though. You didn't have to move.
It was fine, but it was kind of scary because
That would
it
freak
was,
me out a little bit. Yeah.
That's pretty
Yeah.
cool of him.
Yeah, he was
Yeah.
he was good to me.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So did he stay there past the 3 weeks?
Yeah, he did. He ended up living there for almost as long as I did, actually. Jay moved back, I think, maybe 2 years before I did, but he was
Okay.
down there in the same town as me.
How long were you there for?
A total of, we moved down in 2010 and we came back in 2018, so almost
Wow.
8 years.
Now, I see on here so you had a blog post, and part of that blog post, you kind of talk through what it is that you like about Costa Rica, One of the things that I found interesting, which I had no idea, but apparently they have affordable, very good healthcare.
Yes.
How does that work? If you're an an expat, right? So that's an expatriate, somebody who moved from America
Another
to
country.
Another
to
country,
another
not
country.
just
Just
America.
Right. I was an immigrant, basically.
yeah,
An
gotcha.
expat is just a nicer word for it, but I was an immigrant, you know.
Okay.
So like to this day, if I need dental work, I'm going to Costa Rica because the dentists down there are amazing and they're so cheap. Like something that would cost, $5,000 here would cost a couple hundred in Costa Rica.
That's the same for Mexico for dentistry. Anyways, I know it's a lot cheaper there.
It's really
Interesting.
nice.
But for some reason, I just feel like because I've talked to people about getting some dentist work done in Mexico, there's a negative connotation though if you say I'm going to the dentist or I'm going to a Mexican dentist. Like,
Do you think
People-
that's more because of just American society, though?
yeah, probably, but maybe I feel like they got to be regulated in some way. It's so
Yeah, they are. They
They
go
are.
to college. They have all the same
Yeah.
equipment. They're
I'm
very
cool with it. Whatever.
Yeah.
I agree. I
It's
was just
cheaper-
curious if that's what your thought
Yeah,
was.
it's cheaper because I've looked into it. It's cheaper for me to fly there, get the dental work done,
hang out
and
for
fly
a week,
back. Yeah, hang out for a week, fly
have a
back.
vacation.
Than it is
Then
to
it's
get
to
the
pay for the actual
They
Yeah.
actually do
work here.
those kinds of like dental vacations. That's
Yeah.
a thing that they sell packages to people here.
They do that in Costa.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's like a big thing.
So maybe I should go to
need some
Costa
dental
Rica.
work.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I'm gonna,
Yeah.
okay. Makes a note.
So if somebody was to go to Costa Rica, what's the attraction in the mountain area versus the
Is it
Beach.
personality? Is it just
I would say it depends on the town you're in, of course, but the mountains would probably be more authentic Costa Rican, whereas I feel like on the beach, it's a little bit more of a mixture of expats and Costa Ricans together. So but it depends. Like Escazú, which is right outside of San Jose, when I go there, I feel like I'm in Beverly Hills, California. It's so fancy.
interesting?
And it's unlike anything else in Costa Rica.
Oh.
Yeah, they
Probably
have
where
everything.
I'd have to stay.
That's where Larry would glamp it up.
Yeah,
Hey,
I'm a little
okay.
too. I think my lifestyle
Can
has
I-
become a little too bougie.
Can I get a ribeye there?
Yes,
That's what's important.
you can
Okay.
get anything you want there. Like,
Anything?
yeah, I mean,
So-
people drive Range Rovers and cars that you don't see in
Oh,
Costa
I'm not-
Rica. They're all there.
I'm not
It's
on that level
fancy.
yet.
No matter
Very fancy.
where
Once-
you
once this podcast takes
Until
off.
you guys start
Then we can just
downloading
be-
this
yeah.
on a hourly basis.
So 8 years there.
Yes.
My personality goes to sustainability. Like, what did you do to be able to stay there? Like, how did you for accommodations as far as like did you have a job down there? Did you?
Well, you're not allowed to work there legally if you're
That's
not
right.
a
Yeah, I have heard
citizen.
that. Yep,
Yes.
you heard that before.
So when I moved down there, I had about a year's worth of living expenses. And so, because I didn't know if I was going to like it, I didn't know. And that's really all the money I had. Honestly, I didn't have any more money than that. So I just went with that. And the first year I tried really hard to just enjoy my time and be with my kids and relax and explore and travel and do as much as possible. And I enrolled my kids into a U.S. accredited school because at first I'm like, what am I going to do with my kids? What about school? Like I was panicking about school, and it was $5,000 just for them to go for this like short stint of this U.S. accredited school. So that took a huge hunk of my money just doing that. And so after that, I started realizing I can't keep this up with what little money I have. I have to figure out how to make money. So I just started kind of hustling online, really. I just started looking at any way to make money. I taught myself how to build WordPress websites. So I did that. I started designing on like print-on-demand companies like Zazzle, Society6, Redbubble. I started making affiliate websites where I would sell other people's products and I would make a commission. I did little things like sell jewelry. I made hula hoops for a while.
Hula
I tried
hoops.
to sell hula- I was really into
But
hula hooping
that's
there.
that's so important though, because I mean that says if you want something bad enough, you'll do whatever it takes to make it happen. So if it was that important for you to live there, then you just because so many people get in their heads, oh, I can't do this because, or I can't do this because. But
I got to go home now because of.
whenever you really want it, you go out and get it.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And I did. And there were days where it was literally like, give us this day our daily bread. There were
Yes.
days like that.
Sure.
Where it was like, I was doing transcription for a while And I would literally sit there until I had enough money to go buy groceries. And I would just do what it took to make that amount of money that I knew I needed to go to the grocery store.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
That's
How's that sound to you, Keen?
So
I feel
can
like you'd have
appreciate-
heart palpitations.
So it's funny though because
Just
like,
knowing your personality.
no,
not,
I
not
agree.
talking
But what's funny, like,
crap about you.
at the
just-
same time, it's so. I don't know how to I'm all about it. Like I want to jump in. I want to go, but yet I know my personality where as soon as I'd take 2 steps forward, 1 step back type thing, or 1 step forward, 2 steps back. It would be like it'd be so hard to do that without a plan. Like I'm very, that's my personality.
Plan oriented. Yeah.
Right. And
And
some people
as
are
much
like
as I don't
that.
want, and I battle that because I don't want to be that way, but it just automatically happens.
Yeah, I mean, when it's ingrained in you somewhat, I mean, it is hard to, and it's not any good for anybody if they're constantly just like having heart palpitations.
Yeah, if
and,
you're having
like,
anxiety about the
anxiety,
process
Yeah,
or
that's no fun.
situation.
Yeah, I mean, if
No.
it's like, okay,
Yeah.
this is all we have to do, then yeah, that's fine. Did you ask Nicole's question? Did I miss that?
No.
Okay.
Ask away.
Nicole from Nicole Marie Boudoir wants to know, what do you find benefits your life the most about living or vacationing in Costa Rica?
I think just the lifestyle there is very different. It's very slow and spontaneous. I never had a plan. You would hate it,
Yeah.
Jeremy. But I never had a
Yeah,
plan.
you're
And
right.
I would have the most full days. Like my days here are packed. I have work and this and chores and all this. And at the end of the day, yeah, I'm tired and I'm ready for bed, but I'm not fulfilled.
That's a good point. You know, because like, okay, maybe that's what America is missing. Because like, I honestly feel like we're running into a crossroads, right? Where we're always busy. I have a perfect wife for me, have a perfect life, great kid, great house, great job. But then sometimes I'm like, man, like
You have the American
something
dream.
is missing. I do have the American dream, 100%.
Until you started this podcast.
Now it's like I'm fully fulfilled.
There it is.
100%. But honestly though, like to your point, it is so packed that you don't get to take a step back and be like, wow, it's a great day. Because I can tell you right now, a great day that for me that I still remember, my son had colic. It was a December time frame, and he just fell asleep. He was on my body. He was asleep, and I was like, I'm not gonna move, because if I move, he's gonna wake up. And me and my wife, she's like, I'm gonna bake some cookies. I was like, that sounds like a great idea. She baked some cookies, and I just hung out and we watched a movie.
God
I could
bless
tell-
Shay.
I could tell you the movie that we
them
watched. It was Baby Mama. Not the greatest movie. However, at that moment, it was a great movie.
So
Yeah.
I can attest to this because Larry and I used to work out a lot more than we do now.
Yeah, I gotta
But
be
we'd
real
have
now.
good
shows.
But we'd have
It
good,
shows.
not on podcasts. It doesn't. We'd have good conversations, and I've heard this story once, if not twice, before today. So
I've
I know
never
that,
heard that story.
I know that that's actually his perfect day. So
Yeah,
like,
it was-
I'm
it
just
was
trying to give
one
you
of
like that's
100%.
definitely one of your ones that I remember you've told
that
me
I'm
about
like,
that one.
it stands out for me for whatever reason. I think it's just because it was so relaxed, and it was like a whole bunch of nothing.
And
Like,
I'm sure with colic, it was such relief if he was sleeping. And yeah, I could see that.
yeah, it was just like, honestly, it was like a perfect day.
And when you're with the ones that you hold dear and closest, and they're right there. And
It was
somebody's-
right there.
And somebody's baking cookies. That always helps.
Oh
too.
yeah.
White chocolate macadamia.
Oh, you
Yeah.
remember? I love it. You probably remember the smell.
Oh, it's so good. It's good. It was a Vero Lake Estates. Yeah. it
All
was
right, I
great.
got one more question.
Anyway,
now.
yeah, sorry.
I did too, but go ahead.
My dad wants to know from Instagram, actually, why Costa Rica? Why not somewhere
yeah.
else? I
Well-
paraphrase that question.
And I have a question to follow that question.
Well, like I said, it was a conversation that my family was having. But once I looked into it, I was like, this place sounds awesome. And I'd had friends that were surfers that had gone down there. So I knew that it was tropical and warm, and that there was like cool animals and volcanoes and waterfalls and all that fun stuff. But I think the culture, it's very family oriented. Like when you get on a bus in Costa Rica and you're a mom with kids, people get up so you can sit down.
Okay, so
Like they're
kind of
very
old
they-
world almost.
Yeah, the Costa Rican women, if you have a
I think I
baby,
could get on board with that.
Yeah.
If you have a baby, I didn't have babies, but I've seen this happen. If you have a baby and your baby's crying and you're like stressed out and struggling, a Costa Rican woman will reach out and offer to like hold your baby.
What happens if a Costa Rican man reached out and asked for the baby? Because I feel like my personality, I'm like, I'll hold your baby. But
Yeah,
people
no,
might not
that
like
would-
it the same
that
way.
doesn't happen as much.
Yeah.
But
They ain't letting no gringo hold their baby. Okay.
yeah, it doesn't work the other
Okay.
way.
I was
Okay.
that's a
I'm not-
legitimate question. It was relatable.
Yes. okay.
Anyway,
So-
go ahead, continue. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
This creep trying to take my baby. That's,
This blue-eyed
That's
creep.
why I asked. I would go to Costa
don't
Rica. I
do,
won't
don't do
try
that,
to-
King.
You want me to hold your baby? I
Don't
won't do it.
that.
All right. So yeah. So did you answer the whole question?
Yeah, I mean, basically, because your family had looked into, your dad had the,
My dad had the book. So,
book, so it had something, and you thought it was just a cool spot based on what you knew of it.
yeah. I
Was
thought,
there
why
any
not?
other places that
Destiny.
you thought of being a travel agent and working in
Oh,
that
I have a
industry
whole
for
list of things in places
where you
I
would
wanna
live,
go.
not just travel,
I
but
don't
live?
Know, I don't know about live. I mean, I would actually. At this point, knowing what I know now and having such a great experience, there's a lot of places that I would love to live in Mexico. Mostly like Central and
Is
South
it all?
America.
I was going to say.
Latin. It's a Latin culture
Has-
for me. That would be the place.
I feel, and this kind of connects to yours, and I hope I don't take your question, but
Go ahead.
we've had conversations with other people, and Costa Rica is like that one place where Americans would go to retire. And I've heard people bring up other countries now. And does that mean is there a shift going on? Like I've heard Panama come up. I've heard, is it still Costa Rica, still its place, but now there's just other opportunities at other places, or is there a
different-
shift?
Yeah,
of
there's
sorts?
different reasons. I've been to Nicaragua and I've been to Panama
Okay.
because those are the bordering countries. So I've spent time in both places. For me, it's very expensive to get your residency in Costa Rica if you are not retirement age.
Okay.
So when you're a pensionado and you have Social Security coming in, you're good, you're golden. But for me, I would have had to have had $60,000 in the bank to even talk about getting residency. And I didn't have $60,000 in the bank.
Okay.
So residency wasn't an option. And I believe like in Panama, it's $10,000 to get residency, which is doable. You
So
know?
it's a beginning, like a financial
Yeah.
foundation to even go there
Right.
to do that would be why there's maybe
Yes.
people making different choices
different
as well.
reasons.
Now, when we were talking to Nikki, she said you border jumped
Mm-hmm.
for 8 years, and she found that kind of incredible that you were
It's-
able to do that or had to do that for 8 years and
Yeah.
sustained it.
It was really fun at first. It was like a vacation, you know, a mandatory vacation. Every 3 months we had to go to somewhere new, and it was fun. But yeah, it got exhausting at the end there.
What is
Okay.
and for the folks that may have missed that episode, what does that mean?
You get a 90-day visa as an American citizen. So every 90 days you have to leave the country. You can go to Panama, you can go to Nicaragua, which are the two bordering countries, or you can get on an airplane and fly somewhere else, fly back to the States. Obviously, that's way more expensive because it involves a flight.
I remember you did that once. You came back over
I
here.
had to come back, to get my girls' passports.
I think I ran into you and I
renewed.
was like, what are you doing here?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think
Okay.
so. I do remember that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just hit
Yeah.
me.
How
I-
far
I
was
was
the
there.
trip to get across the border?
It was about 3.5 hours from where I lived.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
by vehicle or bus, or 'cause she said a lot of people take a bus.
Yeah. There's different ways you can drive, or now they have like group buses where everybody pays $40 or whatever.
That's what she was saying.
Yeah, and you all get on, which
Would
is
you do something like that? Or
not at the beginning. At the beginning, I was doing it with people in cars.
Okay.
I did take like the old school, like the regular bus a few times, which was much longer than 3.5 hours.
There's multiple
It-
stops
yeah,
probably. That's
yeah.
why. Yeah.
That was not a fun trip. And then when my money was tight, or I had hardly any, during those days, I wouldn't be able to take a vacation in Nicaragua. I would just go for the day and pay my fees, and then I'd have to get back on a bus.
And how much were the fees to go to Nicaragua?
It's not very much. I don't even know honestly right now what it is. They just started doing a couple new things that they didn't used to do, but maybe $20 a person, I would say,
Okay.
for the whole crossing.
And you have to pay that for the kids too?
Yes. Yep. And you just kind of go through the Costa Rican side and they stamp you out, and then you have to walk over to Nicaragua and get examined and checked, and there's police and, all that stuff. And then you go through the same whole rigmarole in the Nicaraguan side. And when I first started, they would make you stay there. You had to stay, I think, for 3 hours in Nicaragua before they would let you leave. Because
Couldn't
I think
just
they
go through
wanted
a line, turn around, and come back out. They wanted you to spend some
they
money.
wanted
buy
you
a
to spend
lunch.
money. Yep. So we would go to a little restaurant and have lunch and hang out for 3 hours. And then turn around and go back.
So
Now,
if,
who would make you stay? Would Nicaragua make you
Just
stay?
Nicaragua, not Costa Rica. They
Okay.
didn't have any rules. They just needed you to leave the country and show that you left and then showed that you came back.
Okay. So they wouldn't let you go back to Costa until you stayed there for 3 hours.
The Nicaraguans wouldn't, yeah.
And then the government in Nicaragua said, well, we'll just charge them a tax.
Yes.
now.
who's got better
exactly.
tacos?
They don't really do tacos.
What do they do there?
That's a
It's
shame. I
different.
don't know if I
That's
could
why
live
I
there.
mix Mexican food. You would think it would be
Yeah.
very similar, but it's not. They have, basically, it's called a casado, which means married man. Yes,
Yep.
something
See.
to that effect. And so it's basically just a home-cooked dinner that a married man would eat. So you have a selection of meat, and then you get rice and beans, plantains, a little coleslaw kind of salad. And then sometimes it's different just depending on the restaurant. But that's literally like the meal in Costa Rica.
Do they serve rice and French fries together?
Sometimes they do, but
I have
not
a friend
always.
whose husband's from Peru, and that's like a
Peruvian food is
yeah.
amazing.
Yeah.
Okay.
that's
Peru's
a
on
normal,
my list. I
like-
would go to Peru and live.
So do
She
they,
said like it's basically rice and French fries. I'm like, really? That's oh my
it's
goodness.
double carbs.
Carbs
Yeah,
on
why you
carbs.
both of
Yeah.
those?
Starch and carbs, yeah.
Yeah.
So
Anyway,
for the people that want to travel to Costa Rica or retire there, can you really stretch your dollar there or not really?
It's not inexpensive. No, it's not. Housing is inexpensive compared to here. That's the one place that I would say that you save money, but everything else is pretty much right on point with the U.S. Groceries.
So you have to make good money
and all
to
that
live there,
stuff.
really.
Yeah, it's not.
Now, you say housing, like rental. What about buying? If you buy down there, is it a lot cheaper?
I honestly don't know exactly because I was never in the market to purchase.
Okay.
I think you can find. It depends on you. I think there's everything you could want there. If you want something tiny and cheap, you can find that. And if
Okay.
you want fancy, that's there too.
I don't need anything like this.
Yeah,
This
you
is-
wouldn't want this in Costa Rica.
No.
It would be a lot of work.
so
Yeah,
you're
people
back in
would-
this. I don't mean to change the subject.
No, go ahead.
You're back in the States for the girls,
Yes.
right? So
Yes.
can you? I think you talked to it briefly.
We came
But-
back. My daughters, they were 6 and 8 when we moved, and now they're 15 and 17.
Okay.
So we moved back so that they could have this experience because I just feel like it's a valid experience.
Absolutely,
They were
yeah,
born
mhm.
here, and I want them to have a job and get a driver's license and just they have options. This is their life. You know, that is the life I chose for us because I thought it was a good choice, but they're going to grow up and have their own life choices to make. So I wanted to give them both sides.
So when are you going back? If not all of you going back,
Well,
what's the plan
I hope
there?
that
Are
we
you
all go back.
enjoying your time in the States, or are you ready to go back?
It depends on the day.
Fair enough.
I
So did
I
any
do
of your
miss Costa Rica. I miss
Did any of your family come back with you? Like your brother or your dad?
Well, I left this part out, but my mom and my stepdad actually moved there too at one point. All of us, like literally my entire family, they were all there. My dad has been there the whole time. He just came back. He was there 10 years, and he just came back for his first visit, like last October.
Now,
or
does he have
something.
residency?
Yes,
Is
because
he still-
he's a pensionato.
Is he still here then? He came back. He's still been back that whole
No,
time?
he's in Costa Rica.
He's like, I'm back,
Yeah,
going
he
back,
hadn't
the
even
heck with
came
this.
back to visit though until last October. Like,
How long did he stay back here in the States?
2 weeks.
He's like, I'm out of here.
Yeah.
When you're a pensionato, can you work down there too or no?
Yes, not at the beginning, but there's like a 2-year process
Okay.
that you have to
Can you
go
open a
through.
business there?
You can. Mm-hmm. Yep, and that's the way. If you were going to be,
Is there an age or just a certain amount of income that you need?
I don't think there's an age. I think it's just income. I think when it comes to the business, I believe with houses and businesses, I think the investment is $200,000.
Okay, so you guys out there hear that. As soon as this podcast can make me enough money to move to Costa Rica,
We're doing this.
me and Larry will be there. Keen will be back here.
No, I feel like I'm
remote
coming.
by phone.
No.
Okay. All right. Cool.
So, like you said,
We're all-
life doesn't start until you get to the end of your comfort zone. Let's do
Yeah.
this.
Let's do
All
it.
right. Yeah, let's jump.
Yeah.
Let's make this shit happen.
Head
All right.
first, not even feet first. Head
So I do have one
See
question
that?
from somebody from Facebook. It
Yes.
was Danielle Randall. One question that she asked was if there was a spot where she could visit for a family vacation where you get hot springs and the rainforest, is there a spot that you would recommend?
La Fortuna, that's where the Arenal volcano is. So that's very close. My family, when they lived in the mountains, they lived in the town of Nuevo Arenal. So there's a big lake, and then there's Nuevo Arenal, and then you go through the mountain pass and you get to La Fortuna. But they have everything there. They have the lake, waterfall, the rainforest, the hanging bridges,
Next summer, Larry.
everything.
La Fortuna.
I'm thinking about
Sure,
it.
I
The one
that
coming
wrong.
up?
Yeah.
I already got 2 weeks going to Hawaii. We got to figure that out. Can we like meet you there for our third week?
Yeah.
Sure.
Okay. All right. Let's plan that out. I'm in.
Let's do it.
I'm going
Instead
to.
of Alaska.
Are you?
Yeah.
Let's
I'll
go.
come.
La
Yeah.
Fortuna.
Yeah, we need.
we have a
we
tour
need
guide.
You need,
tour guide.
yeah, you need
Yeah, we
a
have
tour
actually
guide,
a-
right.
And
local.
Larry to speak the Spanish.
Yeah.
Yes, perfect.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
We got
We can
nothing
make
else.
We can make this happen.
We're golden.
Let's do it.
I'm just thinking, hey,
I like
we
where this
retire
just
there,
went.
Open a taco stand because
So
I don't care where you are in the world, you need tacos.
Yeah, I feel like they're missing a taco. I mean, from what I saw from Nikki, they have a Taco Bell with selling tequila. Like
Stop.
that's amazing.
Taco
I
Bell
don't-
and Costa sounds terrible.
don't-
Yeah.
Hold,
I
please. They sell tequila.
That's
Okay, I
fine.
get that.
You drink
somewhere else.
tequila,
You
and then
need
eventually you're
the
like, I
tequila.
need this Taco
Sorry,
Bell.
Tiffany.
Yes.
Sorry, Tiffany.
So-
we're off topic.
Yeah. Are we though?
No. So just to plan this out,
For our
we're going to
vacation?
go, the week of June 29th through, well, maybe we'll be back in time for July 4th. We might not be.
I spent my July 4th this year
So,
in
because
Costa
we're,
Rica.
yep.
Do
I'll be
they-
back here
do
the
they sell
30th, or I
fireworks?
can meet you there.
No.
You
They don't
there?
have fireworks?
Can we
in
bring
Costa Rica?
fireworks?
Okay, all right, good.
So
You
I'm
can't-
sure that'll go over
What's
well in
July?
I
the
don't think
airport.
you
figure
can
it out.
bring fireworks.
I don't
get my
think.
two. Okay.
They
Yeah.
sell them in
This is
Costa Rica.
legit.
Okay,
You can
that's
get
That's all that matters.
Yeah.
My wife, Malia, when you're listening to this one, we're going to Costa Rica for our third week of vacation.
Okay,
Boom.
sounds good.
Sold, kids. Awesome.
I've always
yeah.
wanted to go there. I'm not going to lie.
Well,
Yeah, so do I. And sounds like we're gonna make it happen.
But
do I got the last question?
I
We
think you
wrapping
do.
up?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, Tiffany.
I forgot
Listen,
already.
I really appreciate you coming on. I think this is
Yeah.
a fantastic. It was a great conversation.
Yeah.
Um,
One last question. Based on your experiences, what is one of the most important pieces of advice you could give to our listeners?
Quit your job and move to Costa Rica.
Pura Vida.
Pura Vida.
By the
Pura
way,
Vida.
her
Pura
dad
Vida.
came in town. He's like, "This is pura crap." I'm
2
out.
weeks. I'm out of here. I don't need to see
All right.
anybody.
We appreciate you listening. If you guys got any questions, comments, concerns, you can find us or get us at fullgrilllife@gmail.com.
And if you want to see what's going on in social media, you can find us on Twitter and Facebook at Full Gorilla Life. Actually, I apologize. On Instagram and Facebook at Full Gorilla Life, and on Twitter at Gorilla Full. Like beautiful, but with a gorilla.
Yep. And please do not forget to go to our website at fullgorilla.life. And also, please do not forget to hit your subscribe on your podcast app of choice. And last but not least, Tiffany, where can they find you?
Oh, yeah.
Or do you want to be found?
I don't want to be found.
Don't want to
Okay.
be found. The
You can
life
find
Leave her
me in Costa
alone.
Rica.
Yeah.
Leave her alone, Matt Feely.
Later.